The Unasur body will meet to form a strategy to fight the Zika virus. Plus, negotiations continue in Haiti as that country continues to face a political crisis. Thanks for joining us for teleSUR English. I'm Cody Weddle, and this is From the South. As I was saying there, the South American regional body Unasur has arranged a meeting to formulate a strategy to fight that Zika virus outbreak we've been hearing so much about. Now, this meeting will take place next week in Uruguay. It was called by Brazil, which you will remember is reporting record numbers of cases of that virus. And the meeting comes as the World Health Organization announced that up to 4 million people could be affected by the Zika virus disease in the Americas in this year. The prediction took into consideration that most of the people affected by the virus will not develop symptoms. However, the concern of most countries is the virus's effect on pregnant women. It's believed that the virus can cause brain damage in babies. And at the closing of the CELAC summit, Latin American leaders agreed to unite in fighting against the Zika virus outbreak.
During this meeting, we spoke about joint action, and we've made commitments regarding epidemics that take a toll on the world and start to have a toll on the region, like the Zika virus, which is pretty serious. Next week, more than likely, our health ministers will meet to create a joint strategy with regard to this pathogen, this epidemic.
And the CELAC summit also focused on issues such as poverty and the Colombian conflict. Our correspondent Luis Arroyo is there, and he reports.
Heads of state and delegations of the 33 countries of Latin America and the Caribbean were welcomed by Ecuadorian President Rafael Correa at the fourth CELAC summit that this year was held in Quito at the middle of the world. The importance of empowering the region as one was highlighted by Correa as he ended the pro tempore presidency of the regional body.
This is the most important issue, because the world's future will be a world of blocs. Ecuador is not afraid to think, propose, dream, and even get it wrong in this proposal. In the midterm, CELAC should replace the Organization of American States because it has never worked properly and is now more anachronistic. Fidel called it quite rightly the Ministry of Colonies.
Created in 2010 under the leadership of Hugo Chavez, the bloc has sought to integrate the region despite existing differences of ideologies among its governments in order to cope with the common problems affecting the region. During this edition, leaders have agreed to strengthen what has been declared a peace area. In this matter, member nations have urged the group to end the only existing armed conflict in the region, the one in Colombia.
The community of Latin America and Caribbean countries has called this region a peace area, and the only persistent armed conflict is the one in Colombia.
Other issues discussed are the eradication of hunger and poverty. This has become the main issue, especially when the region that has more than 600 million of people is also considered one of the wealthiest in the world. Regarding health, the region has acknowledged that it faces a new phenomenon, the Zika virus outbreak in South America, that has already affected thousands in the region. Experts say the virus could spread across the continent. Latin American and Caribbean leaders have acknowledged that there is much more to do in order to reach the regional integration of the CELAC bloc. However, they have promised to keep working in the key issues affecting this side of the world by 2020. Luis Arroyo, teleSUR, Quito.
The Organization of American States has confirmed it will send a mission to Haiti to help solve the current political turmoil there. Now, the group of representatives from the OAS will help the country find a political solution and set a new date for the postponed elections. The announcement comes after the CELAC regional body also agreed to send representatives to accompany and monitor the negotiations that could lead to a solution. Meanwhile, the Haitian government has begun a dialogue with the different political factions. The governing party candidate Jovenel Moïse has urged his main contender, Jude Celestine, to meet together. However, Celestine and most of the opposition are demanding current president Michel Martelly step down in February. With only a few months left in office, criticism of Peru's president is widespread in that country. Now, the response of President Ollanta has been to reiterate his campaign promises. Our correspondent in Peru now reports.
President Ollanta has announced that he will renegotiate the multi-million-dollar contracts with foreign natural gas companies for the benefit of the country.
Nosotros estamos planteando
We are proposing a new negotiation, a renegotiation, in order to find a way of generating higher earnings for Peru through the sale of gas in lots 55 and 57, which is the gas that is being exported as part of the Camisea project.
Using natural resources to favor the majority of Peruvians was one of Humala's campaign promises when he was first elected, but has not materialized. For one of his political adversaries, the country has lost great earnings.
Peru seems to have exported its gas at 56 cents for every million BTUs, yet Bolivia exports the same quantity to Brazil at $5.5, and Argentina exports the quantity at $6.3.
The plans to renegotiate these contracts are linked to one of Humala's key campaign promises, the one about reducing the price of the gas tank for the consumer to $3.5. However, it continues to cost $11 a tank. Rael Mora, TeleSUR, Peru.
In Paraguay now, the Muslim community there has gained a new temple in which they will pray, a new mosque, we should say. Now, the new mosque was inaugurated in Ciudad del Este. That's the second largest city in that country after Asunción. This is the third mosque in the city. Some 15,000 Muslims live in the country of Paraguay. The Muslim community aims to also run a community center which will aim to tackle negative stigma against Muslims. The Brazilian government has launched a new campaign to prevent the transmission of HIV during Carnival season. Now, the health ministry there will distribute 5 million free condoms during the festivities, and they have also launched a massive awareness campaign, which includes TV ads and radio jingles. The political pressure from the Honduran government was not enough to impose a new Supreme Court made of magistrates picked by President Juan Hernández. With an explanation, now we turn to our correspondent there in Central America from Tegucigalpa.
Last Monday, January 25th, the Honduran National Congress had the constitutional obligation to elect a new 7-year period Supreme Court. A list of 45 candidates were picked from over 220 lawyers that had the qualifications but were not chosen by a nomination committee controlled by President Juan Hernández. The new Supreme Court would have 15 magistrates that needed the votes of 86 lawmakers, which means 3/4 of the Congress.
The Honduran people still hope to have an independent judiciary, to have a strong, moral, ethical justice system that follows the law. Unfortunately, we can't expect less than a corrupt process.
After hours of street pressure and negotiations between the opposition, the ruling National Party could only get 82 of the 86 votes needed, losing votes even inside the conservative Liberal Party. On Tuesday the 26th, a new voting process had to be held, but the Libre Party also thwarted it, arguing that they wouldn't vote for those 45 candidates that the government had elected. The Congress president was forced to suspend the session.
This is a spurious court, and we need it to change. We need a court that comes from the heart of the people to give justice, which is our dream. So we are protesting because we don't want a court imposed by Juan Orlando Hernández.
Now a new regulation has to be made, and a commission has been named that includes former Honduran president and coordinator of the Libre Party, Manuel Zelaya. This new team will open the possibility for all the 220 qualified lawyers, making a more independent Supreme Court possible. According to the Constitution, on Wednesday, January 27th, the new court had to assume office, Instead, the National Resistance has called for a demonstration to celebrate the victory against Hernandez's intention. Gerardo Torres, TeleSUR, Tegucigalpa.
And we turn to the United States now, where in the city of Ferguson, the Justice Department has come to an agreement on policing in the aftermath of Michael Brown's killing there. With an update now, Bianca Perez reports.
The city of Ferguson and the Department of Justice have reached a preliminary agreement to address racially biased policing uncovered after the 2014 death of Michael Brown. Michael Brown was an unarmed teenager who was shot down by an officer of the Ferguson City Police Department and brought not only the city to an uproar of protest, but also worked as a catalyst for the Black Lives Matter movement nationwide. The Department of Justice began its investigation after a grand jury in the state of Missouri declined to indict the officer involved in Brown's death, and this, of course, the investigation has now led to this preliminary agreement. The agreement includes the inclusion of more minorities in the mostly Caucasian police force that the city currently has, more training for police officers, and would also require a decrease in the use of unnecessary force. This agreement will be voted on by the City Council of Ferguson on February 9th. Bianca Perez, TeleSUR, Washington, D.C.
At least 8 people died outside Yemen's presidential palace in a suicide car bombing. Now, the self-proclaimed Islamic State group took responsibility for the attack, which appeared to target the convoy of a local businessman who was entering the presidential complex. The Islamic State has gained ground since Saudi Arabia invaded the country in March of last year. Sweden plans to deport 80,000 asylum seekers out of an estimated 160,000 who arrived in that country in 2015. Now, authorities will use chartered planes to expel those not leaving voluntarily. The measures come as several other countries in the EU, including Germany, have taken harsh measures to stop the refugee influx. A debate on same-sex civil unions has begun in the Italian Senate. Now, Italy is one of the last major Western countries not to give any legal status to gay couples. Tens of thousands of supporters demonstrated last week, while opponents plan a rally for Saturday. Activists believe that the approval of the legal status could pave the way for a wider discussion on gay rights in that country. 15 people who were tried in connection with a toxic spill from an alumina reservoir in western Hungary have been acquitted. The spill was one of Hungary's worst environmental disasters, and it killed 10 people there. The court said the employees, who also included several senior managers, could not be held criminally responsible. Former Ivory Coast President Laurent Gbagbo has denied charges of war crimes and crimes against humanity as his landmark trial at the International Criminal Court begins there. Now, the charges brought against him are murder, rape, attempted murder, and persecution. The trial is expected to last up to 3 or 4 years. A refugee in Greece will be among the Olympic torch bearers this year. Now, the announcement was made by the International Olympic Committee chief Thomas Bach, who added that the 2016 Olympic Games, the flame there will pass through an Athens refugee camp as well. The committee wants to draw the world's attention to the situation refugees are facing there in Europe. Lovers of Pablo Picasso's work will soon have the opportunity to buy some of the artist's rare pieces that remained in his studio throughout his lifetime. The auction is titled Picasso in Private, and it consists of over 1 in 80 works. It will take place in London on February 5th. And that's what we're covering on this Thursday, the 28th of January. Thanks so much for joining us for teleSUR English. I'm Cody Weddle. This is From the South. Be sure to join us on social media. We'll see you back here tomorrow.